Welcome to the Atomic Real Estate Show, Philadelphia's #1 real estate podcast and a Direct Subs production. Real estate investing is not rocket science, and on our show, we'll delve into best practices with a focus on the small things that add up over time. Please enjoy the authentic, informative, and actionable show with our host, Paul Jagelski.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today in the Atomic Real Estate Show. I am your host, Paul Jagelski, and I have the distinct pleasure of talking with Tim Garrity, a founder, partner, and broker of record for Copper Hill Real Estate. Hello, Tim, and thank you for joining us today. Please go ahead and take a few moments to introduce yourself to our listeners and let them know you a little bit better.
Absolutely. What's up, Paul? How you doing, man?
Beautiful day, my man. Can't complain.
It is. Sun's out.
Yeah.
So Tim Garrity, one of the founders of Copper Hill Real Estate, the broker of record for the company as well. A little bit about me. Grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, moved to the city of Philadelphia for college. Absolutely loved it. Stayed in the city for over 20 years. After college, Manayunk, Roxborough area, a few different properties there. And I got into real estate in 2010 when the market was absolutely awful. So for me, I was a corporate America guy right out of college in the mortgage business. Started out with JP Morgan Chase as a street loan officer. So like similar to real estate, 100% commission, eat what you kill. Did that for a couple of years, did well with it. And then I got an opportunity to be a manager when I was 24 years old with one of the largest residential home builders in the United States, which is Pulte Homes.
Dang, 24.
Yeah, it was a good opportunity, not only to just kind of, start my career at an early age, but also just to learn more about myself in business.
Yeah.
So did very well with that. Went back to grad school, got an MBA in management. Bottom of the market fell out, 2008, 2009, survived a lot of layoffs, ended up just not working out with that company. And I was kind of like at rock bottom at that point, and married, owned a home, had student loan payments, had grad school payments.
Sounds like a lot of our stories.
Exactly. And I've always wanted to work for myself, Paul. I mean, for me, I've always wanted to be my own boss. I did a lot of creative jobs when I was growing up, like selling papers and just doing like unique things, worked in like a ton of restaurants where you're working on tips. So if you're good at it, you make a lot of money. And if you're bad, you won't.
Yeah.
So did a lot of things to figure out what I liked. And one thing I knew that I really, enjoyed about not only life, but in business was just working with people. I love people, people of all walks of life. I just get along with a lot of people and have a lot of patience for meeting new ones and building relationships.
It's a good word.
Personal. A lot of people have told me I have the patience of a saint. And it's just kind of how I operate. I'm like a real chill, laid back guy, but I understand that it takes relationships and growing with the people who to do well in anything in life, personally or professionally. And real estate is just one of those industries where it's like, again, people get into it, I feel like, for the wrong reasons. People get into it because they think they're going to make a lot of money and they see dollar signs. Then they get in, they realize how difficult it is, that they're trying to make sales and they're not trying to give good customer service. And then they get out because they realize they're just not for me. It's not enough money. It's like, it's too hard. And
Don't
first
chase
2
the
years,
money, chase the client.
Yeah, exactly. My first 2 years in real estate, I just had to learn the hard way. It was an awful market, but I treated everyone like gold, just like I do in my personal life. And everyone was like, man, that was the best real estate experience I ever had. And I'm like, really? I'm like kind of new. So I didn't think so, but I'm glad you do. And then you build it off of referrals and, went from a salesperson to a broker to owning my own real estate brokerage to getting into development, owning a title company. So I've just kind of like been able to do a few different things in real estate since I started.
That's cool. I know we were talking about how you can actually lose a lot by venturing out into too many different things, but it sounds like you actually took calculated risks, which allowed you to dabble here, there, get to know the market, and then with your personality, clearly you did well with it.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Appreciate it.
So you started your own brokerage. How in the world do you get the cojones to start your own brokerage and just say, I'm done. I'm not working for anybody else. I'll front the costs. I'll get the place and I'm going to take this on.
I think for me, I saw the opportunity. There were a few things I know when I got into real estate. There were a few things that I noticed, and this is my own personal opinion, that I felt were like flaws in the system. It's got a very low barrier to entry to get in. I mean, you can take your classes in a few weekends. You can take your tests a few weeks after that. You're licensed in like less than 2 months.
Yep.
Like,
and then you have no idea what to do.
You have no idea what to do, and that was like $1,000. And now you can help people buy and sell real estate, which is like ridiculously risky, highest investment someone is going to make, and they're trusting you to walk you through the process. So I think a few things I saw. One was like, most of the people who are successful, they did most of the business to be had. So it's like, I always call it the 80-20 rule. Yep. 80% of people licensed make about 20% of the money, and 20% of the agents make about 80% of the money. And why is that? Because the 20%, either they've just been doing it for decades and they've just built this amazing book of business. They're just very professional. They're excellent marketers. They're excellent like executors. Like they have a full assembly line for every transaction. Maybe they've gotten into development that brings in income. They've done a few different things, property management.
They got patience.
Exactly. And for me, so it's like, I saw a lot of unprofessionalism, and I had almost a decade of corporate experience. And I'm like, I'm a very professional guy. I had professional corporate training.
Yep.
When people were starting brokerages, they were either doing like, 1 or 2 person shops if they were real small, or they'd be like these big behemoths like a Keller Williams or a Compass or Coldwell Banker, where they're like billion-dollar organizations. And as I started like getting to know the business, I kind of just looked at it as like, even if we were small, like me, my brother Ryan, and Andrew Janos were the 3 that started Copper Hill Real Estate. Like, even if we're small, we're keeping 100% of our commission, and we can run it real lean, and let's just see how it goes. And we let the brand grow organically. It really was through our networks, through customer service, through follow-up once the transaction is done, for getting referrals for that. And then we would meet people who would get licensed, and they're like, hey, I don't want to work for a big company. I want to work in a smaller environment where I get a lot of attention and actually learn how this works. So it's really like, I think when we had the opportunity, we realized like that had a low barrier of entry too. Starting our own brokerage, believe it or not, has a low barrier of entry.
Okay.
The hardest thing to do with it is to figure out how to scale it.
Yes.
Because unless you're getting a franchise, like one of those big companies I mentioned, they're just giving you a business in a box. Like, you got to do everything from scratch. It's like your handbook, your training, your culture, your lead system, your website. I mean, business cards, logos, open house sheets, like anything and everything that people take for granted in real estate. We had to do all of those things from scratch.
Yeah. How long did it take you to set that up?
I would say probably like the basics of the brokerage probably took a good 3 to 4 years to get kind of like a good, our brand was out there. We had maybe like, 10, 12 agents. The 3 of us were still going out, obviously practicing all the time. So we're like, eat what you kill. And then, I think we got to a point we were working out of a co-working space. So like, we're in these tiny little offices.
Yeah.
And we're like, how the hell are we supposed to grow this thing when we're like in this like 5-person office? Like, we need to take a risk, and we need to go get an office space where we can grow into. Yeah. So then we talk about cojones. We got a 2,500 square foot office space at 18th and JFK. So let's call it the corner of Main and Main in Center City. Yeah. And we grew to a team of almost 40. So that, not saying the office did that, but that was kind of like our stamp of approval. It's like, all right, Copper Hill is here, and we're here to grow, and we're here to support the people who want to grow with a local brokerage as opposed to the big corporate behemoths that I just mentioned.
Yep.
And we would attract a certain kind of agent, a little bit more entrepreneurial, a little bit more community minded. They'd rather go to, Tim's Burger Shop rather than go to like McDonald's, because they just see value in that, supporting small business, better quality product, things like that. And not that there's anything wrong with McDonald's. I mean, I'll crush McDonald's, but that's the good example I give. It's like, why do people do that? They just want to do it better.
Yep.
They want to do it local, and they want to own their own business. So that's why we did it.
That's awesome, man. Scaling like that is such a fear for, I mean, any business. It doesn't matter what you're in. And as you say, you ended up getting the building first, which was, in my opinion, awesome, because then it sets that goal. It sets that precedence of, hey, we got it. Now we got to accomplish what we set out to do.
Right.
Where if you had stayed small and tried to get more agents, people are going to step on each other. They're going to get in trouble. Multiple meetings on at once, pushed over to here. You don't look as good. You don't look as clean. You don't look as neat. And next thing you know, you're losing agents and clients. So, it's kind of almost that advice that I give my home buyers when they're coming out of the city looking for that suburb house. Buy a little bit more than you can afford today, because tomorrow you're going to grow into it and you're going to appreciate that space rather than having to buy it twice.
Yeah, that's great advice.
But dude, you also mentioned something in there that I really want to get into. You said follow-up. And that was one of your key parts to success. And I think that's one of the biggest parts that almost every business, especially real estate, people just fall, and they fall hard.
Yep.
Explain to me what you guys do with follow-up and how important it is to your overall business.
Yeah, so I talked one of our big philosophies is customer service. We saw a lot of flaws in real estate, like people met awful real estate agents who gave them bad service and led them into bad decisions of buying things. And we looked at it as it's not about the deal, it's about the relationship. Take care of the client, even if they lose 3 houses because they're very particular on inspections. That's what's best for them. So you go find them the 4th. So we looked at Copper Hill. It's we got to have good customer service before and during the process. And then we have to have good customer service after the process. And that's, hey, would you mind giving us an online review? Because that might as well be currency today when you get 5-star reviews on Google or Zillow or Facebook.
True reviews.
Yes, we're big on that. And then a lot of it was staying in touch. So we have touch points. We have a really, really good monthly newsletter that we send out. We send home anniversary. Hey, this is the day that you bought your house through Copper Hill. Happy home anniversary. Or we give tips to care for your home in the spring and the fall. And we do an annual event where we invite past clients, our business contacts, all of our agents, family, friends, open bar, all you can eat, all you can drink for a few hours. Just, you got to take care of people first. And that is when they will want to reciprocate and take care of you, because they trust you. They know that you have their best interests at heart. And therefore, when they go out to a barbecue next weekend and someone asks them, hey, do you know any good real estate agents? I'm actually getting into the market. I know you worked with someone. Who was that? And they'll say, yeah, Tim Garrity at Copper Hill. He was fantastic. He just did such a great job. And he's there. He answers all of our questions. We closed on it a couple of years ago. We still see him all the time. So, I don't have to tell you, you work for a great real estate team too. So at the end of the day, it's really just about the relationships. And then the follow-up to let everyone know, 5 years from now, you might get a move-up home, or 10 years, you might get a second home at the shore in the Poconos, or 12 years, you might get your first rental property because you want to move some money around and you just got a promotion at your job. And it's really just being their brokerage for life. And that's how we look at it.
And dude, that's the key right there, broker for life. Just because the transaction is done on this deal doesn't mean the relationship is cut over. And I can't tell you how many agents really fail at that. I mean, I got paid, it's done. Oh, they're cool. We'll send them one, home anniversary the first year. Great. What about the second? What about the third? What happens when, as you say, they go to a barbecue and they ask, yeah, he was really awesome, really knowledgeable, really nice. But his name, I don't know. He was a good person. She was great, awesome. But if you don't do that follow-up, they'll never actually get the name. They'll remember your tendencies, but not the name. That follow-up keeps that name. And as you say, it becomes a lifelong relationship that every time they're thinking real estate, they're thinking of you. And that's only because they know that you're going to take care of them. And that's awesome. Another thing you mentioned that I want to jump back to is your corporate training into real estate. Now, I came from a corporate world. I left my corporate training for my life to jump into real estate. And I saw kind of the same things you did, that there's a lot of these entrepreneurial agents that they think it's easy and they think they can just go out there and go into Keller Williams and all the processes are there for them. Right. They have no problem, or Compass, or any other big ones. You came in, as you said, with your corporate background, and you had to build this, and you had the luxury of building it the way that you wanted to. So tell me what you look for out of agents and what they bring to you from your corporate background to now owning this overall business with your partners.
Yeah, so for us, in the beginning, it was kind of like, to be honest with you, Paul, anyone who wanted to come work with us, we're like, come on board. Like, we're trying to grow. Like, oh, you closed one deal. We made $500. Like, this is great. Like, whoa, how great. And then you realize how much work it is to like train new people, to coach new people, to teach them the paperwork, to like take all their calls, to put out their client fires. Like, but you got to start somewhere. So we started out with new people. And then as we grew, one of the biggest steps we took to really kind of like take the company to the next level and grow to where it is today is we created our own transaction process. And that really, in my opinion, only exists with like teams or, maybe there's a solo agent who happens to have like an assistant that just like does all their paperwork and they do it their way. But it's like, there is no right way to do transactions. It's just like, they expect the agent to do all the work, which again, we're not administrative experts or tech experts. We're supposed to be like in sales, building relationships, helping negotiate, like see problems, connecting people to inspectors, like making sure that we're problem solvers. Like that's like our main role. But the transaction process is like, you could be the worst at like administrative and the best at sales, and your deals are going to go south because you're not good at that. And then we looked at it as like, as we're trying to like build the company, we were working like in the business too much instead of on the business. So we said, all right, if the three of us want to work on the business more, what is the first thing we would do? And we said, we need administrative help. So we vetted through a couple people, took a year or two, finally found the rock star that we have, which is Marcy McBride. She is unbelievable. And we have literally created what I want to call like a customized, unique, no one really has a transaction process for agents who are productive. So if we meet an agent who's doing 2 million a year, 5 million, 10 million in volume, I can basically go to them and say, look, I know that what you have compared to what we have is inferior, because I've met agents at every single brokerage. We have agents from all different brokerages, so I know how they all operate. I've worked with agents personally at different brokerages, so I know how bad or good the systems are. And teams or whatever, they're all unique. They do it their own way. There isn't one right way to do it. We looked at it as like, let's create an assembly line in our brokerage so that when you come in as a productive agent, it's more like plug and play. Come on in. Here's the form for your offer. They do A, B, C, D, E. You're still the agent for presenting. You're still the agent for inspections and negotiations. You're still the agent if the appraisal comes in low. And you're still the agent going to closing, if you are going to a closing these days, giving a closing gift, saying congratulations, handing them the keys, and then continuing your follow through, which in my opinion is probably about 75% of the work in a transaction is more administrative and follow up on all those touch points that I mentioned. So if someone can do all that work for you, guess what you get to do as an agent? You get to go build your book of business. You get to go out and network. You get to market yourself. You get to spend more time on your website, on social media. I mean, you really get to rest your mind so that the good ideas keep coming for you to like create more opportunities within your book of business. Like if 75% of your work comes off your plate and it's the work that really doesn't matter, like a lot of people could just do it for you, you'd be shocked at how much more opportunity you can create for yourself. I like to tell people, just by working with our transaction team, I think your business could go up 25 to 50% in volume, because you will have all that time and you don't even have to spend money on advertising. You could just spend sweat, not debt. Like just go out and network more. Go to a few networking events a week instead of doing addenda at 11 o'clock at night. Like, honestly, that's, it. You're laughing.
I do.
It's brutal, man. This is why people, they get out of it. They come in, they do a couple deals, they make 5K here, 10K there, and they're like, this sucks. And it's like, once it's done, they're like, I have nothing. Like, there's no business because they spent all their time just figuring out how to get those transactions from start to finish. And then once it's finished, they're like, I didn't spend any time marketing. That was a 2-month process. I lost all that time with networking. I lost all that time with social media. And we like, that's our secret sauce. And now when I go out and meet agents, I'm really looking for the ones who are productive that don't have anything like that. And even if they are on a team, and teams are great, some of them have great infrastructure, some of them are just average, but even the ones that have great infrastructure don't have anything close to what we offer. And even if they did, it'd be way more money per agent. We found a way to kind of like scale it and get the cost where it needs to be so that clients are okay paying for it, and the agents can again go out and build their book of business.
That's awesome. Knowing your weaknesses and finding somebody that isn't you to do it is such great advice. I want to piggyback off of that because I used to be a hiring manager, and one of the biggest mistakes hiring managers used to do is they like to hire people like themselves.
Yep.
Hey, I suck at marketing, but you're just like me and I love it. Well, they're going to suck at marketing probably too. So you can't just hire you. You have to be able to know your weaknesses, what you are not going to be happy doing, succeeding well at, and hire somebody who's good at it. Let them do the process. They enjoy it. I know we have a great transaction manager on our team. She's our operation manager, Lee Shemansky, and she enjoys it. That's the process that she enjoys.
That's her strength.
Yep. And as you say, it takes a huge weight off of mine, knowing that if I put something into the calendar for a follow-up, if she didn't see the email go out, she's texting me, yo, you have follow-up today and I didn't see anything go out. Do you want me taking care of that? Yes, thank you.
Exactly.
And as you say, it just allows you to actually concentrate on your own business. So that's fantastic. In the beginning, you mentioned you're developing. Are you doing any projects now?
We are. So we probably do anywhere between like 5 and 10 home flips a year.
Oh, cool.
We're acquiring properties, fixing them up, reselling them. We started getting into some more larger scale stuff probably within like the last like year and a half, 2 years, where we acquired a warehouse down in Kensington that was occupied as like a creative space. So think like someone who needs space for woodworking or soap making, or they're an artist or a photographer or a band or an interior designer, like people that want that nice industrial loft creative environment where they can run their business with cheap rent. And that's where they operate out of. Again, great location in the center city, public transportation. You got Fishtown right there with a ton going on. So we were able to get that through a relationship. Someone we knew was selling it. We bought it and the numbers made sense. So we fundraised, went to family and friends, raised a ton of money, and we acquired it.
Dude, that's awesome.
Now we're looking at 2 different multifamily projects, which is mostly apartments. One's mixed use, one's straight up residential apartments. And those are both, in more of like the due diligence process right now. So I can't say a whole lot about it.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, we're starting to think more like that. Instead of just buying another single family for a rental or a duplex for a rental, that's a great model as well. And I know people that do that and do it very well. We have kind of a big team. We have 5 people on our development team. So we're trying to think a little bit bigger.
I like it.
And, people have these skill sets, have had them, either they're college educated, they just have corporate experience. Now we have the real estate experience, general contracting, engineering, being connected with the right attorneys, with the right banks. And, we're just prepared to do it now. So we're working on a few projects like that.
So are you finding the property first, or are you going, hey, we have this idea for a project, now let's go find that property that fits it? Chicken before the egg.
Yeah, a lot of it's really just been organic. So like someone in our network will tell us about a property and we're like, okay, we would be interested in something that large. And then when we see it, we're like, hey, we could do this with it.
Okay.
We could build on it. We could, just rehab the building. We could change the use, whatever it might be. And a lot of that is really, again, it goes back to like your network is really what helps you. And most of the time it's like, if it was like 6-7 years ago and someone said, hey, what do you think about this property? I'd be like, oh, I have an investor client for that. Let me go to them and let me see if they want to buy this.
That's
And I
awesome.
did a lot of deals like that. And then eventually, like one of my my best clients, who happens to also be a general contractor, was just like, why aren't we doing it together? Like, at least let's start out with some flips. And he looked at it as an opportunity to scale his business. We
Yeah.
looked at it as an opportunity to get into that side of the business. And it's been awesome. That's been like almost 3 years. We've done everything together. We continue to do everything together. And hey, again, we're going to still make mistakes along the way. We haven't done a whole lot of this stuff, so we're still learning, but we have a great team. Like I said, great attorneys, great people to bounce ideas off of, and the lenders to talk to and understand what the numbers look like. So that's where we are in the development now.
Dude, that's awesome. You guys actually fully work as a full system team. I mean, you've got your developers, you've got your contractors, you've got your agents, you've got your marketing group, you've got your transactions. So you're bringing all these specialists together and figuring out how as a group you can succeed from it. That's phenomenal.
Thank you. Yeah, it's we also look at it too. That's really a good attractor of real estate agents as well, because I don't know if I've ever met an agent who said they weren't interested in development, new construction, working with investors, and we're doing it ourselves. So we're like, hey, we can train you on that because we're doing it. You can get involved in some of our flips. Like, we might need an agent to handle the out sale, so maybe we can split that. You do all the open houses and the photography and the negotiations. So we've done some of that. We've done some leasing through our agent team as well. So the development itself is going to create opportunities.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, from an agent perspective, as I'm training all of our agents to really grow their own books of business, like, I teach on how to meet investors, like how to be of value to them, like understanding some of the basic numbers of maybe what they would have to pay on a property versus what the ARV would be.
Yeah.
And you don't get that from anywhere. And we're just such like a tight knit group. I've always looked at it, Paul. It's like, I have to be able to share everything I know with everyone at my organization. Otherwise, I'm shortchanging them, and I'm shortchanging the value of our company.
Yeah.
Because if they come in, even if I tell them everything that I know, and I'm worried, like, what if they leave? And what if they go do it on their own? I still look at it. It's about execution. Like, if I'm going to execute better, it's not a problem. And even if they go do it on their own and they do it successfully, they'll always remember that I was the person that helped them with that. And never burn a bridge. Like, keep those relationships strong. I mean, I've had people that left our brokerage that are like coming back, and I'm not going to come back. You know, it's been a couple of years. You guys are doing different stuff now. So like, those conversations have happened. And it's tough. Agents come and go. We've brought in a ton of agents. We've lost a ton of agents.
Yeah, I mean, we're like bartenders, man. We we chase that money sometimes.
One thing that's never happened, no one ever came into the company and left and said, you didn't teach me anything. They usually left because they were spreading their wings. You know, they found opportunity somewhere else. Someone went to recruit them, or someone made them an offer, and it was just an opportunity for them to go off. And I'm like, you got to do what's best for you. And again, let's keep doing business together, because at the end of the day, there's usually 2 agents on every transaction.
Yes, sir. It's interesting to hear you talk about all of this, because I have a little tally here of common themes going, and the one that keeps coming back for you is people. I mean, you really, truly do like people. Everything that you mentioned basis is right back to, how can I help this person? If it's an agent, if it's a client, if it's a developer, if it's a painter, if it's a warehouse space that I can help other people. I mean, dude, everything comes back to the fact that you like helping other people. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of a rare breed. I think
Yes.
it's in the high majority of people, you know, they'll get pissed off about something and then they'll just ditch the relationship and just say, that's not going to work. I look at every failure in business is an opportunity to succeed. Every failure in a relationship is an opportunity to look at yourself and be like, did I do everything I could? Like, can I learn from that? Are they just an asshole? Maybe they are, but time heals all wounds. And I look at it as, you know, getting into real estate was like the most entrepreneurial opportunity I've ever seen. And now I've like been able to like live that dream, and it's like, it's happened. But I will tell you, the one thing that really attracted me, because I was in the mortgage business before, is like, at the end of the day, when you help them buy a home or a second home or an investment, they just never forget it. And you are helping them get to their next step in life. You know, maybe they're about to get married. Like maybe they have 3 dogs, and they need more space. Like maybe they're about to have children, or, you know, maybe this is their dream home and they just got a promotion, and like, this is how they get ahead in life. And you're involved in that. They go to closing and they're like, this is like one of the greatest days of my life. And you're a part of that day. And then when you stay in touch with people, what I've learned over the last, you know, so it's like almost 13 years, is the golden rule. Like, treat others as you would like to be treated. And when you do, they will always reciprocate. And it's just, when people trust you, they're going to be like, yo, I would never recommend anyone else for this but Tim. And I have had so many clients come to me that said, like, you're the only person I'm working with because I trust this person with my life and they trust you. So that's how it's going to be. And then I treat them like gold. And guess what? They go spread that word as well. So, and I just enjoy it. I enjoy people. I love meeting new people, learning about them, you know, having deep conversations and just being like, hey, where are you from? You know, Philly's become more transient. I meet people from like all over the country, and, you know, I get to hear them either talk shit on Philly or like just say how much they absolutely love it. And, you know,
the nation fucking hates us.
Yeah. And it's not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's really been like, hey, I can appreciate that perspective. Guess what? Here's mine. And I don't think that way. But great. I just love it. I absolutely, I love people. I tell people that all the time. It's just how I'm wired. I think it's just how I'm born.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I mean, I read so many little articles, national, this, that, you know, different stuff, and they're always mentioning all of our neighbors, but nobody ever freaking mentions Philadelphia. We never get the respect out of it.
No.
And that's one of the reasons why my partner and I wanted to do this show, is because we're like, come on, guys, let's start talking about Philadelphia. There's opportunities here
out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that actually want to help other investors as well. I mean,
exactly.
I know 4 years ago, I was telling you, I had an agent, Sean. He helped me get into it. I had my brother-in-law helped me get into it. That was a big, huge one for me. And I think people hearing you today are going to just realize that they can get into it. They can do it. Get that support, build that network, lean into it, and you'll be fine. It's the ones that half step in that tend to typically step back out because they realize it's a lot of work. It's not just easy. It's not just, you know, passive, quote unquote. You even said it. I don't want to work for people, but yet now you work for hundreds of people.
Right. Yeah, it's so true.
You know, people come like myself, came from a corporate job. You had one boss, maybe a VP or something else that you had to kind of report to, and you hated that they were making the money. You come to real estate and you're like, damn, the only one holding me accountable is me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, so like we talked about the transaction team, and that was, not only is that good for the agent, saving them time, helping them build their book of business, but from a brokerage perspective, it drastically reduces your liability because all your paperwork is done the same. Yes. And it's done very well by experts who do it all day. And who train those experts? Our management team taught them how to properly write paperwork, how to look out for the potholes, you know, how to problem solve. You know, here's some language on how to write this that we've gotten from an attorney or something like that. So we've really trained that team. And the other thing that most people lack, and you can probably agree, is being able to call someone at any time of day or night or weekend to be like, hey, I'm in a situation right now where it's like, I need to make an offer. I don't understand what I'm doing. Or it's like, this is an immediate problem. Someone threw in a lawsuit into the conversation. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I am highly available to those people because I have such a great assembly team that I can delegate to day in, day out to handle all the dotting of the I's and crossing of the T's. So I make myself readily available for those agents. And then I also offer them like monthly mentoring. Like, let's get together once a month. Let's sit down, get a cup of coffee or a sandwich. Tell me what you got going on in your life that I can either help you with or provide feedback on. And then I'll tell you what I see. You know, maybe you're going too slow. Maybe you're going too fast. Maybe you don't have the confidence that you need, so I can give it to you.
What's the most common advice you give new agents?
Yeah. And it's like, you know, not everyone can do this full time right away. So when they when they say, hey, I have a family, or hey, like, you know, I already have a full-time job, I want to like ease into this. I'm like, good. Then you know why you're getting into it, which is good. So don't think you're going to do 2 transactions a month at 500,000 when you got a full-time job and you got a family. Like, this is, to do that is extremely hard, even if you are full-time.
Yeah.
So let's call it like it is. Like, ease into it. And I've had agents quit their jobs and do it full-time. So, and they've even started teams.
Nah.
Yeah, I mean, we've have a couple teams that have formed organically at our brokerage because they got successful, and they're like, what do I do? Like, I'm getting busy. Like, how do I bring in someone? I'm like, well,
here's
I
step A,
started
B,
a brokerage.
I already did it for you.
I already kind of have a team. You're on my team. Now it's time for you to start your own team. And here's some infrastructure. Here's a way that you can do it. Here's some paperwork. Here's how the splits work. You know, here's the training. Here's what you do. Here's what I do. And there's upside if you start a team. So it's, you know, there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Yeah, I really wish more real estate companies would actually start scripting it, you know, making that process more stringent, because as you say, every company does transactions different. There is no actual law of A, B, C, D has to happen in this order. So if B all of a sudden drops out because title decided to drop it, you got to be able to realize it dropped out and picked it back up.
Yep.
And having that team and having that process in place is awesome. The fact that you're willing to help other people do it on their end, if they want to do it, is phenomenal. I mean, again, I keep putting my little check marks right next to people. I think it's phenomenal because that is what real estate is. Investor, buying, selling, brokerage, it all boils down to taking care of your people. And that's both clients and internally as well. If you don't take care of those people, they'll never take care of you, and you'll never be successful. You know, as bartenders, I used to chase the cash. You went wherever the crowd was going, and that was kind of the fun out of it. In real estate, you got to kind of make your own path and make sure that you are the ones setting that way for other people. It's a fun game. It really is.
It is, yeah.
But now you were talking about your flips and your holds. Do you do that personally, or is that all through Copper Hill?
That's all through Copper Hill. So, I mean, I have my own home. I used to have a rental property on my own. So I've done some investing. I've rehabbed 2 homes myself for personal purposes, one in Philadelphia, one out in Flourtown, which is where I live now. But no, all of the like wealth building, if you want to call it, which is why most people get into development. They're looking to build wealth over time on the asset, appreciating and paying down the loan, as well as the cash flow from the rentals. We do all that through our development team. It's called Copper Hill Development.
Dude, that's awesome. So you've got that flowing into your company to help with all this other development on the people side out of it.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of run it, Paul, as like 2 different organizations. You know, this has this with this balance sheet, profit and loss, same thing over here. But again, they're joined at the hip. So like if one is down and the other one is up, then we can kind of even them out, and vice versa.
You really helped hedge yourself against the market.
Yeah, we partnered up with a title company probably about 7 years ago. So we were able to legally create a title organization that brings in money to the organization, as well as great customer service when you're closing the deal. Because again, comes back to trust. Where do you think the buyer comes when they say, who the hell am I supposed to use for title insurance? I don't know what it is. I don't know who does it. And you're like, we can work with the title company that the brokerage owns, because if anything goes wrong, 1, I have a say. And 2, I've worked with them countless times, so I know that their fees are reasonable and their service is excellent. So this is and title insurance is a fixed cost. So whether you go with title company A or title company B, it's going to cost the same. It comes down to fees and service, and I know we're good on those fronts. So why don't you work with us?
That's awesome. Is that Copper Hill Title?
It's not. It's actually called Stone Abstract. Is the name of the company.
Nice.
So yeah,
work out of the same building?
Not out of the same building. No, it's actually a team that was already in the business, and we had an opportunity to kind of partner on a new organization where, you know, we have the clientele, we're doing a lot of the business development, and they have the infrastructure. They have, you know, the searchers, the processors, the underwriters, the closers, and you know, title. It's a hard business to just build from scratch. I mean, brokerage, I could like, put on a light in a closet and put a little desk right there and like, hey, Tim Garrity right here. I'm looking at a 3x3 space. I got my cell phone and a laptop. And what do you want to do a deal? Hey, is that what we're doing here? But you know what I mean?
My office.
Yeah. I'm looking at my house. Title, you got big salaries, you got tech, it's very legal. Like you got to get an insurance carrier. Like there's a whole slew of operating costs that you have to go through to build it. But once you build it and it starts like churning and doing well through business development, like you can do very well.
Dude, how did you learn all the contracts for these things?
Trial and error. And
I knew you were going to say that.
And a lot of great attorney relationships. Again, coming back to people that I trust, that I'm like, I am fine to pay you $300 an hour, which is what a good attorney might cost, $300-400. And I'm fine to pay you because I know you're going to take care of me. You're not going to charge as many hours, and you're going to let me know where our risk is.
Okay.
And you're going to help rewrite the paperwork if it needs to be rewritten, so that once we lay the groundwork of the paperwork for the partnership or the organization, whatever we're trying to do, it's done right day one. Like we're not going back 2 years and being like, hey, we screwed up on that. Like we went to LegalZoom and got a template and just signed it. And we thought that was enough. No, like you need experts to navigate you through business, through legal, through partnerships. I mean, real estate is a super litigious legal business. Title is like that. Development is very much like that, where there's all sorts of things that can go wrong. So you just got to have the right people looking out for you. And, I think treating people right, compensating people right, like not trying to shortchange anyone. It's like, this is your rate. I'm going to pay your rate because I want you to give me the service, whether we knew each other or not.
Right.
The fact that we know each other, we know that if you do good service, I'm going to keep working with you and I'm going to recommend you to everyone that I know. So it's a win-win.
I like it. Yet again, back to those people, find your weakness and find the expert.
That's right.
Dude, you are like such the epitome of, I'll be the captain up front of the ship, but I need all my people in place for the ship to be ran. I can't do it myself. And that's awesome.
I appreciate that. I've had a few people sometimes refer to me as like kind of like a fearless leader. They're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you're like doing this, you're doing that. Like, starting a brokerage. Dude, here's a great story, Paul. We started a brokerage for like 2 months, went to some networking event, and I met an older like suburban mom who's been doing real estate very successfully for like 20 years, but she's with a big company. I'm not even going to mention who it is or who they were. But she was like, oh, who are you guys with? And we're like, oh, we're with Copper Hill Real Estate. She's like, never heard of them. We're like, well, it's because we just started 2 months ago and we started from scratch ourselves. And she was like, the ball's on you. And dude, I'll never forget that because I'm like, yeah, I guess that does take some balls to compete against a multi-billion-dollar organization like she worked with that's like scooping up agents every day, every week.
Yeah, dude, you guys are fucking nuts, all three of you.
It's not any different than like you say, hey, I want to start making cheesesteaks, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to start with a food cart because it's cheap and I can do it. I got to pick the right corner. I build up my audience, because they love my cheesesteaks. I'll get a brick and mortar. And then if the brick and mortar is successful, guess what? I'll have 10 of them and it'll turn into a Primo Hoagies or something like, that's kind of like, it's not any different than any other business, but I think for me, like I said, I saw the opportunity to give better customer service. And then as we grew with agents, I saw the opportunity to take the transaction work away from them and still give them amazing customer service from a broker leader perspective. So that's why we keep growing.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, the traditional real estate has been broken for years, and there's companies out there right now trying to disrupt it. Some larger companies. I work for one of the larger companies trying to disrupt it right now. Yeah. And it needs the disruption. It can't be the same it's been for the last 50, 60 years. People need to feel more secure. As you said, this is their biggest transaction of their life, most likely.
Yeah.
They need to feel comfortable handing that check over. And as agents, I don't care if somebody else on the other side screwed it up. It's my name, my face, and that's going through the mud. It ain't title. It ain't the developer. It's nothing else. They're going to remember me, and they're going to my Google 5 review star, and they're bringing that down because somebody else screwed it up. So I agree. It is broken, and I love the fact that you guys are disrupting it. I love the fact that not only are you disrupting it, you're training the agents to do it and enjoy it while they're doing it, because it needs it. It needs that disruption. People need to be the focus, not the money. The money comes, a lot of people don't understand what it takes to even post just a house. There's a lot of expenses on our end out of it. There's a lot of time that goes into it, unpaid, a lot of mileage that goes into it, unpaid. And if that transaction never happens, it stays unpaid. Yeah. And then, as you mentioned, there's all the backhouse networking stuff that we got to keep in. We got to make sure that those people still like us. And that comes with our events that we have to put on for them. So I know a lot of people like to sit there and go, oh, real estate agents must be rich because you look at how much they're making and how much a house is worth. And then I try and explain to them the expenses of just carrying your license for a year. Yeah. One transaction is going to maybe hopefully pay for that part of it. Another transaction, maybe your overhead on materials. A third transaction, maybe the gas that you put into there. And we still haven't gotten into time. We still haven't even gotten into the other nitty gritty. So yeah, it's awesome. I love the fact that you are disrupting it. I love the fact that you're teaching other agents how to disrupt it properly, and giving them their wings that they can fly on their own. Because here in Philadelphia, we got a lot of opportunity for investors and agents alike. And I appreciate it. Honestly, I do. I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you helping everybody out there, because we need it. We need more people like you out there to actually bring Philadelphia to the place it should be at. Because we've got a lot of opportunity. Opportunity.
I really appreciate that, Paul. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Now, real quick, we are going to start wrapping up here, but I have one more question before we do the wrap up, which is, dude, how the hell do you fucking decompress from a week like this? I mean, what are you doing in your life that can keep a smile on your face?
Yeah.
And not sweat just dripping down every single day? You've got a family, you've got kids, you got a house that you got to take care of. You've got a couple different businesses I counted within there. You've got friends and networking. I mean, what are you doing?
So like my personality is like, as you can tell, like I'm very big on like having a strong foundation. Yeah. And I feel like everyone's foundation is based on like their family. So let's just call it like it is. Even if like you were raised and it wasn't like the greatest environment, you can still create your own environment once you become older and you're on your own, and you can do it any which way you want. So I look at it, I have an amazing family. I have an amazing wife, daughter. I have 2 dogs, live in a great home in a great neighborhood. But I take care of myself. I try and get sleep every night as much as I can.
I try.
I exercise 5 days a week. I meditate 3 mornings a week. I try and eat well. I do deep breathing to kind of just calm myself down here and there. I mean, it's the little things over and over. If you do them consistently, then you keep if your body's healthy, then your mind's healthy, in my opinion. So you can stay healthy as you can. I mean, Christ, I'm going to be almost 44. So it's
damn, dude, you look good for 44.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So I just look at it as like, hey, if I can keep myself healthy, that keeps my mind healthy. And then, whatever I can do to delegate to good people and pay them for their time, that allows me more time with my family, me more time with growing businesses. It's just a win for everyone, but it really all starts at home. And even if you have no family, even if you're all by yourself, you can still take care of yourself. You can still get sleep, get exercise, eat right, try and just relax. I mean, hey, I like to have drinks. I like to go out and eat cheesesteaks and eat like garbage. Like, I'm no saint. So, but honestly, that's me enjoying my life. It's like everyone should be able to do that, but yet they should still focus on, hey, you got to take care of yourself first. And if you take care of yourself, it'll all work out.
That's cool, man. That seems to be a common theme with all of our guests, is taking care of yourself first. I know I talked a little bit about meditation on one of them, and you mentioned it here, and eating right is another big one. And then exercising is the biggest. People just always forget to exercise as they get older. We run around with our kids when they're young and we're like, oh, that's my exercise.
Yeah.
And then they get older.
Look at my pipes from holding up a theater show.
I got this extra, little extra here to hold them the feet, and you can rest.
Yeah, right. Like
That's
these
what I
look good.
for.
This doesn't look great at all. Like what the hell's going on down there? Oh, it's probably because I had 6 beers last night. That's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. But so not to cut you off out of it, but we are going to start wrapping up here. So I got 2 final wrap-up questions that we ask everybody. And at the end of those, I would ask for you to give us a quote that you live by. The first question is, what is one thing you have implemented into your life this year that you were not doing last year?
One thing I did last year is I actually went through some business coaching, and it was more around actually recruiting the proper agents for our brokerage, because everything before that, Paul, happened organically. It was just like, hey, my friend's getting their license, or like I met someone, did a deal with someone. I was like, they were cool. And then we just met, but we didn't have like a process.
Yeah.
So it allowed me to, one, go through with an expert and identify what kind of brokerage and organization we are, like where are our strengths, and then have a process for reaching out to people that I don't know, that I won't meet organically, and connect with more people more often and look for the people that are already established. You don't need to be doing this for 10 years to be established. You can be doing this for 2 years and you're kicking ass.
Yeah.
But it's the ones that are established that are going to appreciate the transaction team and the mentoring. And if they're confident and they're standing on their own 2 feet, they're like, I would prefer to be at an independent brokerage because I don't need all that big stuff anymore. I don't use it. I don't like it. I don't identify with it. I'm on my own anyway. My leads come from me. So last year I went through all that. And this year, we're doing pretty well. We're bringing in more experienced people, and it's going really well.
Dude, that's awesome. Somebody with a lot of letters after their name still takes the time to sit back and coach themselves and find
100%.
yet again another expert to help them. That's phenomenal. Second question: what advice do you have for your younger self?
The number one thing. No, don't get me wrong. Like I look back at my corporate America experience as like more of a blessing than a curse, because it taught me a lot about how the world worked. Taught me a lot about like the political nature of working for a corporation, because there's always politics involved. And it taught me how to like really like be a professional without having to go like fall on my face 10 times and then realize like I got to be professional. I got to fall on my face. But I really wish I told myself right out of college, like find that entrepreneurial path earlier. Because when you become an entrepreneur, especially in real estate, time is your friend. Like the longer you do it, the easier it gets, the more opportunity you will find. Like, again, you're buying investment properties, and so am I. Like I've rehabbed 2 homes, but I did those in like my 30s and 40s. I kind of wish I did those more in like my 20s. And again, at the end of the day, I'm very, very pleased with how things have gone for me professionally, but out of college, I'd be like, yo, jump into this like right away, because you don't need the money now. Like you're single, you're young, you're just trying to go out and have fun, live your life and travel, eat well. But that's probably the best advice I could give.
Dude, you put that probably the best way I've ever heard it, with time being your friend at a younger age for real estate. Yeah. Everybody always says just start younger, but putting it in that spin with that, it makes a lot of sense. That's a really nice way. So what's your favorite quote that you live by?
So I'm a huge Shark Tank fan. Like, and when I talk about huge Shark Tank fan, it's on my TV every night that it just repeats on CNBC for like 7 episodes in a row, whatever the hell it is. Like that's my white noise. I just freaking love it. Lori Grenier one time said, look back to learn, look forward to succeed.
Ooh.
I thought that was like really, really powerful. Because sometimes I feel like people look back and they kick themselves and they're like, I'm looking back on that and I'm mad. And it's like, you got to look back on it as a learning opportunity. That failure is going to contribute to your success. Yeah. And no one succeeds in life without failing first in some kind of way, shape, or form.
So true.
So looking back to learn, look forward to succeed. Lori Grenier, there you go.
I love that one. That's awesome. I've never heard that one before. Well, thank you again, Tim, for your time and all your thoughtful insight, especially for all the atom-sized bits of knowledge you broke down for our listeners today. Now it's their turn to take those small atom-sized actionable steps on their end. Before we sign off, though, Tim, please tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you.
Absolutely. 3 best ways. Cell phone is 267-879-2716. Call me, text me. My email is tim@copperhillre, like realestate.com. And I try and stay active on Instagram. So my handle is @realestateInPHL. I don't know how the hell I got that handle, but it was available.
Yeah, seriously, dude.
And I only got Instagram, Paul, when quarantine happened. People are like, yo, you got to be on this shit. Everyone's doing it. You're not. And I'm like, okay. So I've only been doing it like 3 years, and that was available. I was like, damn.
Damn. Dude, you could probably sell that thing now.
Probably could.
Dude, that's awesome. Unfortunately, that is the end of our episode of the Atomic Real Estate Show today. There will be more actual advice that will be free for the taking on our next episode, so be sure to tune in next week. And please keep an eye out as we are working on setting up a mini-series focusing on the process. Thank you again to our listeners and for Tim for being so generous with his time and insight. This has been a Direct Subs production. Check them out at directsubs.com. I look forward to hearing from all of you in our comments. Please remember to like, share, and follow and subscribe anywhere that you listen to the Atomic Real Estate Show. Be 1% better today, guys and girls.
If you enjoyed our episode, please consider supporting the show by rating and reviewing the podcast. Also, check us out on Instagram at Atomic Real Estate Show to find out when new shows drop and to participate in our community Q&As. The Atomic Real Estate Show was brought to you by Direct Subs. Direct Subs is the #1 place for real estate investors to connect with local contractors for their flips, rentals, renovations, and new construction projects.